They go out and they buy several turkeys, 15 to 18 pound turkeys, and they put them in their freezer. And then during the summer, on some of the hottest days, they make turkeys. And what they do is you can take up to an 18-pound turkey and put it in a baking bag. Now, you never want to put a pot or a pan directly on the floor of the sun oven because you need airflow all the way around it to get that even heat. But if you take something, this is just a cooling rack for cookies, you can take something like this or a trivet, or in developing countries we use flat stones, and you put it in the oven's chamber, remove the leveling tray, then you can actually put up to an 18-pound turkey in a baking bag. Now if you make a turkey, the instructions with the baking bag say if you put it in your pot in your oven, you should cut slats in the baking bag. In the sun oven, you don't cut the slats. You just leave it sealed because your baking bag is serving as your pot. And you put it in here and you have really delicious turkeys. The gentleman who told me about what they do with the turkeys, they put the turkey in generally between 7:30 8 o'clock in the morning. Someone's home about 4 times during the day, so 4 times during the day it gets refocused and it's done in the evening. Now I mentioned starting with a frozen chicken. You know, it's great with a chicken because you can wait and see what the weatherman says, and if it's going to be a nice day, you can pop a chicken out of the freezer, throw it in here, throw some potatoes, carrots, onions with it, just set it in the sun oven and come back and it'll be done. But with a turkey, you do have to defrost it. There's not enough hours in the day to defrost and cook a turkey in the sun oven. So you do need to defrost it first, but you can cook up to an 18-pound turkey. And what's great is that if you buy turkey, if you have a freezer that has, and you have room in it to put some turkeys in it, at the holidays, turkeys are about the cheapest meat. They're cheaper than hamburgers. It's one of the most inexpensive things you can do. And so on a very hot day, just making a turkey, having a great dinner as opposed to microwaving something or getting fast food, it can really be inexpensive, and then you've got leftovers for nice turkey sandwiches for the next several days. So it does allow you to make up to an 18-pound turkey in there, or if I'm not going to put something liquid, I could then put a trivet or put something like that cooling rack in, and I could make put a much bigger pot inside if I wanted to make something larger. I could put up to about a 9-quart pot inside there if I want to make it without the leveling tray. On the leveling tray, the biggest pot that I can use, or the biggest pan, if you're looking for the single biggest thing that you could cook on the leveling tray, is in the enamelware. Everybody's got the oval turkey roasters, that are made of the enamelware. They sell a 10-pound turkey pan, or 10-pound poultry pan, I guess I should say, that will fit on a slight angle, but perfectly on the leveling tray. That gives you, by the way, about 9 liquid quarts of capacity. So, I mean, it gives you a pretty big amount if you wanted to make something larger. You could use, there's no harm in using the oval poultry pan and filling it up with, like, the beans and the rice, or filling it with a casserole or whatever you wanted to make it. So if you want to make something larger, you could put that into the, crossways on here. Some people, going back to the Dutch ovens for a minute, some people have the 6-quart Dutch ovens with little legs on the bottom. And if you take the leveling tray out, that will fit perfectly there, and then of course with the legs on the bottom, you've got it raised up so you get the airflow all the way around it. So if you're going to slow cook, that works great for that. So it's not limited to one pot. It's not limited to just one type of pot. You can do a lot more with it than most people think if you just kind of look at the whole capacity, look at that whole chamber and say, okay, how can I fill it? It allows you to fill it up, and then you can cook a lot more in it, and it expands the opportunity of what you have to cook in it. Now, some of the other things that you can do with the sun oven, besides for cooking, is that it's wonderful if you want to dehydrate food. It makes a fantastic solar dryer or dehydrator. Now, to dry in the sun oven, what you would do, and I'm going to again take the reflectors like this. Normally, when we cook in the sun oven, we latch these latches tight because we want a completely airtight seal to trap the air inside. If I want to dry, what I want to do is take the latch and raise it up. So if you notice, the latch is raised up and the glass is raised up about a ½ inch above the gasket. The reason that you want to do that is that, number one, it gives the moisture a place to escape to. If you've got it airtight, the moisture will stay inside the oven. The other is it keeps the temperature lower. When you dry or dehydrate, ideally you want to be in temperature someplace between about 110 and 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Once you reach 170 Fahrenheit, you're cooking. So if you get up to 170, it's not going to be drying anymore. It's going to start cooking. So if you stay between 110 and 150, it works out great. So if you leave the reflectors open, you leave that raised up, that keeps the temperature lower because it doesn't form the airtight seal, but it also allows you then, you know, the air is a place to go, the moist air to escape. And if you just move it periodically, you want to stay at a lower temperature. And the nice thing is, hunters like drying jerky in it, for example. And your drying jerky takes more than 1 day, but you can then latch it tight overnight. And when you latch it, it suspends the drying process, so you got the no new air is coming in there, but it also keeps bugs out because it's airtight, and then you can let it finish the next day. Now, people who have many people use big electric dehydrators, and they're great if you have a lot that you want to do. One of the women who uses the sun oven a lot in Salt Lake, says what she likes to do is she's got a few tomatoes in her refrigerator. She's got a little handful of this, a handful of that she really doesn't want to throw away, but she's not going to use. She'll throw it in her sun oven and dry it, and so you can't do as much as you can with a big electric one, but she doesn't want to drag out her electric one, plug it in, and clean it for a handful of things, so she uses it all the time for dehydrating or drying when she has a few things left over that she wants to do. But you can cross-stack like the cookie sheets and put several layers in when you're drying, or you can use baskets. You can use just about anything in there for drying, and it works out real well. Another use of the sun oven that's nice, or an advantage for preparedness, is that it can also be used for water purification. Now, you could put a pot of water in the sun oven and boil it, but it's going to take a long time. Boiling, of course, is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and it takes as much energy to bring the water from 200 to 212 as it does from the ambient temperature up to 200. So, boiling water is good in that you see the visual indicator of the bubbles. Now in the sun oven, when you boil water, you're going to see tiny little bubbles. You're not going to see big roaring boil because of the even heat. But if you want to purify water, or kill all the bacteria in water, this is what's called a WAPI, or a water pasteurization indicator. And all it is a plastic tube, and what you see at the top that's green is a wax. And pasteurizing water is bringing it to a temperature of 159 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 minutes. That will kill all the bacteria in it. But you don't have any way to know that that's reached that temperature for that period of time. So you boil because you see the visual indicator. Well, this is the visual indicator of pasteurization. When this wax melts and goes to the bottom of the tube, all the germs have been killed in the water. And then you can take this out, you can put it in the air for about 2 minutes. You could turn it over, of course the wax will be on the other side, and you could reuse it over and over again hundreds of times. Now, you can put this into a pot of water. I like using a canning jar because if you have it in a canning jar, you can see, if you just kind of, and this is a nylon tube, a nylon string that's not going to break, so you can just screw your canning jar tightly down and leave this hanging towards the top of the canning jar, and then look inside the, the canning jar and see that it's done. And then again, you don't have to open you don't have to open the pot lid to do it. You can just look at it. What's nice is if you were going to do a large volume, or you could put 6 quart-sized canning jars on the tray. You only need 1 WAPI because of the even heat. Once 1 jar is done, they're all done. So the even heat allows you to know that it's the same. Now, this isn't going to take hard impurities out of the water. I mean, it's not going to take dirt. It's not going to take stones or gravel out of the water. But what some people do is they add to their preparedness supplies. You can go to a dollar store and buy a great big package of coffee filters for $1 and just pour the water through the coffee filter, take any solid impurities out, then put it in a canning jar and put it in use the sun oven and a WAPI, your water pasteurization indicator, and then you can purify it. So it is a great little tool to have. We use these a lot in developing countries where water is important, and a lot of people like them for preparedness because it's a very simple thing and it can be just reused over and over and over again. I've seen people have been using them for 2, 3, 4 years every day, and I've never seen one break. So I don't know what its life is, but it's a pretty long time, and it allows you then to know the water is purified. And again, if you've got another type of purification, using the sun oven to be able to heat your water for sponge baths or heat your water for doing dishes, is another way of using it for water, and it doesn't take a lot of energy. Another kind of interesting use of the sun oven, a lot of people like using sun ovens for camping. Many places that ban open flames because of the risk of forest fires. You can use a sun oven because there's nothing that'll catch on fire with it, so it's great for camping. But